And I would imagine you mentioned that it's so much easier than building ground up from a regulate or from a city and bureaucracy standpoint. I would imagine cities are probably pretty excited for someone to come in and do something with this vacant property, right? So is the approval process to convert it to mini storage pretty simple, or what does that look like?
Yeah. Some of the properties are need to be rezoned and subdivided, and some of them just need to be subdivided. They're already zoned, depending on what county or town you're in. Some commercial zoning regs say that you can have mini storages, and some say you can't. See, but these are pretty easy to get approved because of the fact you don't see them; they're all inside.
Yeah.
You just got a nice neon sign out front. You got nice signage on the building. The manager, who's the white label, is the management company. Like I mentioned, there's I think they're number 6 in the nation. They have a unbelievable marketing program and through the internet and how they market and get the tenants in there. So it's not it doesn't change anything to the site. You're not looking at a whole bunch of garage doors.
Yeah.
You got a garage door that you pull in and you can drive through these buildings. That's just the other beautiful thing about it, especially up north. When you get the bad weather, you can drive in, pull over to the side, unload your car or truck, and then take it to your unit, and you're inside. And
Yeah.
then you just drive straight out. There is, in a lot of these cases, there is some loading dock, so we can do. You can pull up to your loading dock at a U-Haul truck or a rental truck or whatever, or semi, and unload right there. That is an option that a lot of mini storages don't have because they don't build them that way. They just build flat on the ground and that's it. Roll up the doors. This because it's an existing retail store or J.C. Penney's or grocery store or a Big Lots. They all had loading docks.
Hmm.
So we take advantage of that as well, which is a big plus.
Yeah.
Big plus.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned, that being around $50 a square foot to purchase it. What's your estimated renovation cost typically to build it out then per square foot?
That's a good question. I have a total that's in my brain. Would have to take it out of the calculator. Like the one we're doing now, we're paying like $8 million for the site, which is including 400 plus $1,000 worth of income,
Mm.
triple net day one.
Wow.
And there's 61,000 of vacant space. It'll cost about uh, all in with the soft costs and carrying costs, the closing costs, the construction costs about two. So it's a $10 million investment total to get it off the ground, and it's probably easily worth. It appraised day one even before we break ground, meaning start putting the pieces together. Um, it should appraise at least for 16, 17 million
Wow.
day one, and then yeah, there's a lot of on a 7 cap. If you held the whole thing for the whole 2 years, it's worth about 25 million or better. The other key thing is because of the fact that we're buying it so right, we can rent to start filling it. Because keep in mind, I don't want to. I don't want to buy green bananas at my age. I want to, I want, I want to be able to sell these and not worry about it.
Yep.
So, in order to do that, you got to have a marketing strategy which is priced right. So I'm pricing it $1.70 a foot for rental. With the surveys and all my competition around me are between $2.25 and $2.25 a foot.
Mm.
So I'm way underpriced. My cost is cost is cost. You can't change that. You got the management fees, and you got the electric, you got the taxes, and all that. But the heating systems are in, the air conditioning systems are in, the bathrooms are in, everything, the sprinkler systems, everything's there. It's just a matter of just maybe moving a couple items around. And so we can rent it pretty fast because of the fact that we're going to be so cheap compared to your competition. And in some cases, there's a big need for them. There
Mhm.
isn't a lot of competition around. In some cases that are really have too much density, we don't go in those markets. We stay away from them. So we look for those criterias, and it's not a lot. About 4 or 5 deals, 4 or 5 criteria that fits the mold. But there's a lot to be made.
Yeah. And that does bring up a great question or point, like where does this work the best? Like where are you buying right now, and where do you target where those 4 or 5 criteria do kind of intersect?
It's strictly a retail centers, main retail roads, or malls that are somewhat closed because of the fact that they still have the traffic. Like I said, they still have the housing around there. They still have people still have the income.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't go to Big Lots anymore
Mm-hmm.
or Joann Fabrics. They buy it all online, and they don't go to Sears anymore. They just so those areas. There's nothing wrong with the locations. We're looking at suburbs of major cities, like the one we're doing now is in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
Up in their suburbs, there's a suburb called Greece, New York, which is really, believe it or not, is like the fourth largest city in New York State.
Mm.
It's up north. It's different than New York City. It's nowhere near that. It's 5-6 hours or better. It's up on Ontario Lake, so it's in a great market, great income, a lot of family oriented. That's what you need. A lot of rentals. You want a lot of apartments. That's what you need. And we were starting off as small as like $50,000 investment, and what they get is just a strictly percentage, 15% annually, and 100,000 gets them 19% annually.
Wow.
150 gets you 21%. 200 gets you 21% plus 5% of the profit once we sell it.
So that's a fixed rate annual return for your investors?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
All 4 categories. The first 3 don't get a percentage of the profit
Sure.
of when we sell them, but they get an annual return of those 15, 19, and 21% on their investment, and they get paid semi-annually. The ones who going in for more than 200,000 are getting 5% of the profit plus their 21% annual return. So there's a lot of profit in this thing. So there's no sense of me being greedy.
Yeah.
Give it out and get investors, and then as soon as you do 1 or 2, I can't imagine 80% of them not going to want to do another one.
Right. Yeah. What's the risk? What's the risk involved here? Like what's the worst case scenario? Do you think there's a chance that these wouldn't sell, that the self-storage or the big, the U-Hauls of the world wouldn't want to buy it? Or, I mean, what's the downside?
Well, if someone didn't want to buy it, it's a good question. We got plenty of income. We're running it.
Yeah.
The value of the property goes up every time you rent something. So every day when you rent an extra 10 more units, 20 more units within a month, your appraisal and your value of the real estate goes up. There's no risk. There's always risk, but there's no big risk that you're not going to get your annual return because we have rental income.
Yeah. And
keep in mind, day one in this particular one has the 400,000 triple net already as income. So that takes care of the majority of the mortgage payment, because when you borrow the difference between the 85% of the 10 million, the mortgage payment most of it's covered by the existing tenants.
Yeah.
So that cuts your risk down there too. The big risk is, I don't know, I guess they don't rent any, but that doesn't seem possible.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you're talking about how self-storage has never really had a down year. As I was thinking about it, I was thinking like just like the risk with self-storage seemed intuitively like, well, in a big downturn, you would think that would be an extra expense. Like people would get rid of their extra stuff so that they don't have this storage fee anymore, in a really tight economy. Is that you haven't, like, that hasn't been the case when like 2009 crash or stuff like that?
That happens, but you know what else happens at the same time? People that are in their houses or big houses are going to apartments and they got too much stuff, so they rent the spots that they move out of.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So there's always a replacement person for that spot. When I built the ones up in Florida, up in Pasco County on the west coast of Florida, near St. Pete and Tampa area, 40 years ago, there was 1,000 units. The risk I took there is there was a lot of units for that time.
Hmm.
It took a good 2 years to stabilize that property. Um, that's the risk, but because of the fact that we're going in different, and it was a rural area at the time. I went up and looked at it after all these years about 6 months ago. They look beautiful, and on my way up and way back, I counted about 40 or 50 mini storage units.
Mm.
That boy, I was way ahead of my time. Should have kept going, but I didn't. I went the other way with my father's business, and I was buying shopping centers. But it's amazing how many more are out there, and they're full. Especially when they had a disaster, like they did when they had the floods in St. Pete. You couldn't get a storage unit.
Mm.
It wasn't to be had.
Interesting.
Anything that was salvageable in your house, you had to put it somewhere. So they put it in the mini storages. So I was asking the manager of the units that I built, that by the way, U-Haul bought and run and still own them. They said that they were full and they're just starting to get some leeway where they have some vacancies where people can, out there marketing and getting back to their regular, normal day-to-day business.
Wow.
But I just don't see a downside of this because, especially with the so-called boomers these days, are not buying houses; they're renting apartments and stuff.
Yeah.
We've got storage for cars. You got storage for boats. You got all kinds of stuff.
That's a good point.
I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it coming.
Yeah.
And that's why I decided once I identify a location and I do the marketing study and then I do the budget and get the zoning and the subdividing and get the financing, it's just all on a silver platter, turn it over to the management company, let it run.
Yeah. And
I don't think my time is best spent teaching you how to rent a 10 by 10. I've done it. My time is best spent finding another location and doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So that's why I hired, they're called White Label. They run about 200 units around the nation, right, in about 40 states. And a lot of it's virtual. You pull up, you pull in, you punch in this, punch in that, give them your card, they give you a unit number, go in unit 202 and move your stuff in. Here's your code to get in. If you don't pay, if your card isn't any good next month, it automatically locks you out.
Mm.
So collections are very little. It's down to a science now. When I first started, we had the gates, and I would have to manually lock you out.
Yeah.
If you didn't pay rent. So you had it, but we are going to have staff there in the beginning for the first. Well, while we own it, I want an extra manager on site. I don't want it totally virtual. Do this because I want to rent fast.
Yeah.
And because the faster I rent it, the more it's worth, and the faster I can sell it. So we're going to have two sets of managers, basically. The White Label will manage the guy on site or the girl, whoever it may be. But there'll also be a lot of virtual rental. You can even do it. You could pull up at 9 o'clock at night and do it.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's all cameras. It's all lit. It's all cameras. It's all lit. It's all secured. So it's an easy business once it gets going.
So the two that you have are in Florida now. Are you planning to continue in Florida or I'm sorry, in New York?
No. The two I have in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe it or not, I tried to find Florida, and I'm in St. Pete right now.
Okay.
I stay here most of the time. The problem with Florida is, like I mentioned to you in the beginning, is you got to buy it right.
Yeah.
The prices in Florida for an empty box, they want $110 a foot. The
Mm.
number doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Up north, we still have plenty of population. We still have plenty of income, plenty of traffic, but the prices are half the price, if not less. So we plan on going to Buffalo for 2 units and Syracuse for 2 units.
Okay.
And do the 6 of them right in that area. And it's easy because I have an office there. My son's there. The bookkeeping's there. It's 2 hours away for me on a flight. It's so much easier to do it in those 3 cities to start them off with. But you can do this any place. You can do this in Kentucky. You can do this in Virginia. It just needs to meet those criteria, which are 4 major criteria, which I've mentioned before.
Yeah. So
and we will look at those areas
right.
if the property's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to recap, the four criterias are buying it for the right price. There's enough traffic. There's obviously big box retail stores that are available. And then what else is it?
The traffic count,
Okay.
how much traffic goes in front of the building,
Okay.
the housing and income,
Mm.
and the percentages of mini storages around there. What is your competition? We get a list of all the competition. We know how many units they have, how they're full, what's the percentage per capita. We need to stay under 8.9% per capita per square foot. The one in Greece, New York is in the twos.
Hmm.
It's a fabulous location. The one in Henrietta, New York is in the fives, still way below the national average. Now that 8.9 is the figure that the institutions, Wall Street or the U-Hauls of the world will buy.
Okay.
Anything more than that, there's too much competition.
Got it.
So if you're in the game first, you're the leader.
Yeah.
If you're in the game last, don't go there.
Yeah. 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 And when it comes to the financing stack, then are you getting most of the capital from a bank loan, commercial loan, and then you're raising?
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm
pri-
I'm personally guaranteeing the loan. Nobody else is.
okay.
The investors won't have to have anything to do with that. We have options. We can get loans to several banks, and believe it or not, I can't. I'm getting quotes now because obviously they're getting ready to finalize these two deals. Pretty good rates, as low as 6.5, 6.1%. No prepayment penalty, just so we can sell it. I could do SBA has a mini storage program where you can do 90% down and get it at 6.25, but there's a prepayment penalty.
Mm.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which doesn't scare me because of the fact that if you remember, I said earlier in my closing cost, I have built in $250,000 or $300,000 with the carrying costs.
Mm.
I'm not going to be using it because I have revenue from the $400,000 coming in. I might use a fraction of it, and then you have revenue as you rent them out.
Yeah.
So you use less and less of that. So if you got to use part of that or the majority of that to pay a prepayment penalty to make $3 million, $4 million profit, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Again, that's a decision that even though the investors won't own the actual piece of the property, but I treat them as owners.
Yeah.
And I treat them as we'll get together, decide what's the best for all of us. Someone might want to say, hey, look, let me take out those other two investors and let's stay in, keep it. I don't know. The great thing about this is there's a lot of options. And when you do any real estate, I don't care if it's buying or building a doghouse, you got to have options. If you don't have options, go away. Go do something else. That's not a good project. You're going to buy townhouses. You're going to buy apartments. You got to have options. You got to be able to renovate them. You can raise the rent. See, we're going to leave a lot of meat on the bone for the buyer because we're at $1.70 a foot. They can raise it to $2 a foot and still be under the market that are getting 2.25 for the same space. So my projections are all blown out of the water. It could be worth a lot more. You got to leave some profit for the next guy if you want to sell it. If you don't want to sell it, then just sit there and milk the cow. Like I said, they're easier than even mobile home parks because you don't have to deal with the tenants.
Mm-hmm.
Like my toilet's clogged or whatever. None of that. It's this.
Yeah.
It's clean. Just keep the hallways clean. That's all.
Yeah.